Good morning, guys. Ryan from Husky Moving here, Arlington, Massachusetts. We serve the greater Boston area. We are a full-service moving company. We do residential, commercial. We do handyman jobs. We do disposal. We do odd jobs around the house. What else do we do? We do power washing, artwork mounting, TV mounting, LED light installation. We make a dope iced coffee. Delicious. All right, guys, here's what I want to talk to you about. Red flags. You got to learn them. You got to pay attention. Got to pay attention. So this morning, phone starts going off at like 6:30, I think it was. And I ignored it because I've had a long week. If it was any other day, I probably would have picked up the phone, but I've had a long week. I've been going for, I can't remember the last time I had like a real break. It's been a while, which is fine. No big deal. You know, this is what I signed up for. But I gave myself this morning to kind of chill. Phone starts going off at like 6:30. I get booked for a job through TaskRabbit, which I talk about a lot. I get booked through a lot of jobs through there. And this woman books me for a task for a 9 a.m. start. Now, I don't actually look at my phone until 8 o'clock because it's 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday. As far as I'm concerned, like, I'm in bed. If I'm sleeping at 8 in the morning, I'm sleeping at 8 in the morning. I don't owe you anything. You didn't book me a week ago, so whatever. Look at my phone. Wants me there at 9 o'clock, which is an hour from when I actually saw the message. So right away, red flag. So I got my little list of things that I wrote down on my recycled paper because I'm trying to be good for the environment. Of all the things that transpired over the course of this conversation that to me were jumping out red flags. I'm going to go through them, and I want to be real clear that I'm not suggesting when you hear things like this, you don't take the job. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is I want you to be aware that when you hear things like this, it oftentimes signifies that you're walking into a certain type of situation. All I'm doing is try to let you know, if you don't know naturally, what you could potentially be walking into, so then you can make the decision about whether you want to get involved or not. Now, we all got our own things. Some people like to do certain things, some people don't like to do other things, and that's okay. I'll leave that up for you to decide. I'm at the point where I've done enough of jobs like this in my life that I'm trying to avoid them and get into easier situations. I know the red flags. I've done enough of them. I spent a good amount of time working for another company in my life, and what they used to do, they had contracts in the town that I live in with the housing authority and other accounts that I would consider to be people with like lower income, and that's okay. No judgment whatsoever, but you need to understand that those accounts with the lower income brackets tend to come with certain things, just as accounts with higher income brackets tend to come with certain things. You can make a decision on what you want to get involved in and what you don't want to get involved with. But I've done a lot of jobs in my life that involve what I would consider to be not great situations. I won't go into the details because nobody really cares. But I've been in a lot of shitty experiences in my life, and I'm trying to avoid them. I'm old enough where I feel like I don't have to do that. And if I choose to do that, that's okay. You know, I did a bunch of them this week, actually. A couple in particular come to mind. But I'm at a point where I think I can make a decision about whether I want to get involved. I don't have to get involved, is my point. You might have to, whether you have children, truck expenses, a giant bill that just came down the pipeline, alimony, or you just maybe just want the money because you want to buy yourself a Tesla. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'll leave that up for you to decide. First red flag. Booked at 7 a.m. for a 9 a.m. start. Sign of someone who is all over the place and obviously doesn't have all their ducks in a row, or else why would they be trying to get someone there 2 hours before they need to start moving? Most of my customers call them a month ahead of time. Take it for what it's worth. Housekeeper is going to be there cleaning while we move. In and of itself, not a big deal. That's actually kind of somewhat typical, although I would prefer, as a general rule, you want to space out the workers so nobody's all up in each other's grill. So not the way I would do it for sure. I would get the move done and then have the housekeeper come in later. In and of itself, not a big deal, but it just means one more person in the way. What is a big deal, along with the fact that the housekeeper was there, was then there were a couple more things that were said that to me indicate the house is a disaster zone. And I quote, "I want you guys to ignore the mess. Housekeeper needs me to help with packing." Okay, so she's not ready to go. It's a messy environment. My guess is there's going to be shit everywhere. So every time you go to move a piece of furniture, you're going to have to pick up 50 things and move them somewhere just to move the piece of furniture, which again, not a huge deal. That's part of the moving business. But it's just one of many red flags in this post. "I have another U-Haul scheduled for tomorrow." This is a quotation. "I have another U-Haul scheduled for tomorrow." Again, that indicates to me that nothing is packed up and ready to go. Nor is anything organized, because if it was organized, you'd be doing this in one shot, not a bunch of different shots. And again, the 2 U-Hauls in 2 consecutive days, not a big deal. It actually happens pretty frequently that people need to space out what needs to go on, but it's one of many things that to me, again, in this is a red flag. So it's not just the one thing, it's the 10 things, because nothing's ready to go. I had another moving company that walked off the job on Wednesday. Okay? I've done a lot of moving jobs in my life. I've walked off maybe 3 of them, I think. 3? Might be 2 or 1. 3 at the most, I think. Walking off a moving job is pretty hard. You really got to have screwed up or been really disrespectful to the movers to get a company to walk off a job. The only reason I've ever done it is because someone said something to me that I consider to be beyond disrespectful, something that I couldn't then. They said some stuff that to me was unjustified. There's no reason to say that to me personally, what they said. And then once they said it, they kind of doubled down on it. And then at that point, I was like, listen, this is my boundary. I'm out here. I'm not working with you anymore. So good luck. I don't know what this other company walked off for. I have no idea. My guess would be, given all that's going on here, it's probably a complete shit show at the job. It's probably stuff everywhere. It's probably filthy. Nothing's ready to go. The customer is probably being difficult, would be my guess, because usually more often than not, when people leave a situation, it's not always because the situation is really difficult, although obviously that can be the case. It's oftentimes because the situation is really difficult and the person is being just, you can't work with them. Like, you're trying to get through the job and it's, like for me personally, it would be everything I say is an argument, fighting back on everything, not willing to work with us with what we need to do, stuff like that. Being disrespectful is a huge, for me, is like, I'm not doing this. I'm out of here. So I don't know if any of that stuff occurred, but again, all of this to me is a huge, like, because there's like 7 things in a row that are indicating to me, dude, fucking run. Get the fuck out of here. You don't want to be involved in this. And I could be wrong. What else do we have in here? There was one more. Oh, the last thing was that she had been called into work, so she wasn't actually going to be there for the move. There are situations where the customer is not there for the move. If it's a relatively straightforward move, I oftentimes will encourage people, if it would make them feel better, to go get a coffee, go do other errands, whatever they do, because they don't need to sit around and watch me pack a truck unless they want to. I mean, there's no reason. Oftentimes they have to be there because there'll be a million questions that need to be answered. But if it's pretty straightforward, we can say, hey, if you want to go to the other apartment, you're fine. We'll be fine, as long as we have a clear idea of exactly what needs to get done and whatever we're not supposed to touch for whatever reason. But the fact that this was all unplanned, it was very, very last minute and unplanned, and on top of that, she was going to go to work and not even be there for the move. So now we don't have anyone to answer questions. We don't know what's supposed to get thrown out. We don't know what's supposed to get moved. Again, not a good situation. And it sounds like, and I could be wrong, it sounds like with this person, her and I probably would not have gotten along very well, because we sound like very different types of people, and that's okay. I'm not saying I'm better or worse. It's just different. I don't think I would have ever allowed something to get to this kind of point like she did, just because that's not how my mind works and it's not how I feel in control of my life. So the fact that she allowed it to kind of get to this level is probably a red flag that her and I wouldn't necessarily see eye to eye on a lot of things, and that's okay. It's just different. So maybe I would have preferred to not have her there for the move. Maybe. But all of these things together to me were just like, I literally like kind of right away, she sent a whole bunch of these messages and almost immediately I was like, hey, this is not for me. And I didn't like apologize or anything. I don't need to apologize. Like I don't owe this woman anything. I've never met her a day in my life. She came at me with some stuff that I was like, I'm okay. And I told her that I'm okay. And then I was like, and she asked for a recommendation, and I didn't. There were a couple of times where I started to say to her, like, I started to type out a message of like, hey, here's why I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, hey, you know what? She's probably in a stressful situation right now. She doesn't need you telling her like that she's not doing a good job. You can just tell her you don't want to get involved and leave it alone at that, which is what I did. And then she was like, hey, do you got any recommendations? And I started to think about it, and I was like, wait, why would I, if I think this is going to be a shit show, why would I recommend anyone that I care about to get involved in this situation? So I was like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't even think I said I'm sorry. I think I just said, no, I don't. And then I just canceled the task. The job might have been fine. It might have been okay. I might have gone there. I might have been fine. I might be reading into things too much. There's a very real chance that that's the case. But I will tell you, I've been doing this a long time, roughly 25 years now. And usually when my spider sense goes off, it's usually right. Not because I'm brilliant or anything, but just because I've been involved in these situations 500 times prior to this morning. So I already know what this series of messages is most likely going to look like. Most likely. Doesn't mean it's going to be that way, but most likely to look like. And so I made the decision I didn't want to get involved. So I would say that this series of messages was probably, is pretty obvious red flag. It's someone out on an airplane tarmac waving the things at you like, don't get involved, don't get involved. Pretty obvious. But I want you guys to do is take some maybe cautionary tales from this and start to listen to the language people use, listen to the things they tell you about the job, the details. You're going to start, as you go on and get a little bit older and a little bit more involved in the business, you're just going to start to realize what certain things are going to mean for you, and how people will oftentimes, in any relationship, whether it's a marriage or mother-daughter or a moving company customer, people are going to give you language that you're either going to say red flag or green flag. So I want you guys to get to the point where you're looking for these things that symbolize red flag or green flag. Do I want to move forward, or do I want to back up and say, I don't want to get involved? And then the other thing, guys, I want to talk about is, real briefly, is you don't need to feel guilty for not getting involved in something. Like, you don't owe these people anything. You guys are there to get a contract with each other, and if it both works out for both of you, fantastic. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Like, you don't, oftentimes in the service business, I think a lot of guys who work in this business start to kind of feel guilty because we're always the ones like giving and the other person's always the one like taking. Like, so when I show up to a job, the other person would be like, yeah, I didn't feel like doing this. And then I got to deal with the fact that they didn't do it. And that's like the contract that we have with each other. So you get in this mind frame of like, I got to do everything. That's why I'm here and that's why I'm getting paid. But you don't have to feel guilty for turning down these jobs if you don't want to do them, because there's the goal really is that you move away from these kind of jobs. Like, sometimes you have to do these jobs, like I talked about at the beginning of the video, and I understand that. I get it. Like, depending on your market, what your life situation is, what your goals are, I get it. Sometimes you're going to want to do these jobs. Sometimes you're going to have to do these jobs, and that's completely okay. I just want you guys to have the information to make your own choices and decide what path you want to go down. For me personally, I don't want to go down that path. There are other paths that I could take that would be great. I have customers that are fantastic, that are ready to go, high-end buildings, high-end stuff, high-end expectations. They require a tremendous amount from themselves, and they require that from me too, but I'm okay with that. I'm great with that. That's what I want to be involved in. That's what I expect in myself. That's what I expect in my customers. that's what I'm trying to move towards, or that's what I want to stay with, because that's going to generate a theoretically, usually, better customers. At least, maybe not better. I shouldn't use the term better. Different customers, the type of customers that I want. Easier money. They don't care as much about money. There's a lot less hemming and hawing about a lot of things. There's less pushback. There's less money-related issues. There's it's just easier. It's easier to work with. So those are the type of clients I want to get towards and keep going towards. And you can decide on your own what type of clients you want. Again, this isn't to tell you not to take situations like this. That's not my point here. I just wanted to point out a bunch of different red flags so that you'll know going forward, if someone says something, you go, oh wait, that probably means this. And now that I know that, I can make a decision on whether I want to get involved or not. All right, guys, thank you for listening. If you found any value in this, please hit the like and subscribe button. It's Ryan from Husky Moving. If you need to get a hold of me, my contact information is at the back end of the video. Email address, website. Thanks for listening, guys.